Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. In the last video, we were at Earth, and we completed the trans-Martian injection burn, and we were able to do that for the very low cost of only like 430 delta V, I forget the exact number. But the reason it was so low is because we started off on the moon, and we came back to Earth, and as you come back to Earth from the moon, obviously you accelerate because the Earth pulls you in. So by the time you get down to Earth, you are traveling somewhere around 11 kilometers per second. So you have almost all the velocity that you need for an escape from Earth just by coming back from the moon. So when you're at periapsis, then you can just kind of turn the engines on just for a few seconds to get a little bit more velocity boost, and that will give you the escape velocity plus any additional velocity that you need to go out to one of the planets. Then warp time forward until we were just 40 or so days away from Mars, and we did a bit of a mid-course correction along the way. And the point of that mid-course correction is just to make sure that the line of nodes between Mars and Phobos is going to be at our periapsis, so that when we get to Mars, we will be we will be at a node. That way we can do any correction that needs to be done to get ourselves into plane with Phobos. So for now, let's kind of see first of all where Mars is at. It's down there. So let's warp time forward and get closer to Mars. Again, we have a arrival date of 497, so let's get within a couple of weeks of Mars at least, and then we'll see if we need to do any more corrections here with the line of nodes. Looks like we will. So that's about 30 days out.
Warning, oxygen low.
I hope I'm not running out of air. I gave myself a 10-day window, I believe. Yeah, I cut it kind of close, but yeah, we have 30 days left, so we should be okay. Freaked me out. All right, let's continue warping time forward. Okay, now we're 20 days out, so let's get within 10 days. And then we'll do a small correction here for the line of nodes. And right about here. Okay, again,
rotation.
No point really
Translation.
in having maneuver mode just to do this, because you can eyeball it. Okay, that's close, but not quite where it needs to be. I'm going to say that's better. Now we should be able to close the distance. Let's check interplanetary MFD though and see what it says our PEA is going to be. That's pretty low, and this is accurate. So let's raise the PEA to at least 20 kilometers, but that's going to have some impact on the line of nodes. So let's check that in TransX. And again, I just don't know how to check the line of nodes in IMFD yet. Okay, there we go for that. Now let's check and see what that did to our altitude. It unfortunately raised it. Boy, that's frustrating. I'm just going to have to use TransX. Okay, so when we get within a couple days of Mars, we'll check everything out again. Okay, that's the end of the locks. I heard it. So if we wanted to, we could jettison that module to free up some mass, but we won't do that. We don't need to. Okay, we're 4 days out, 3 days out. Okay, we're within 24 hours. Let's go to view setup and scale the view target so we can actually see. All right, and view encounter. According to Transx, our minimum altitude 62 kilometers. According to Interplanetary MFD, which is more accurate, it's just below the surface.
Rotation, translation.
Go ahead and warp time forward. And let me just check. Okay, there's Mars. I just want to make sure I don't run into it. So let me bring up Orbit MFD, reference Mars, and put that on the HUD.
Rotation.
Let's rotate so we can see Mars in the forward view. Okay, warping time forward. And when I get in a little bit closer, I'll have to bring up the minimum altitude, because I know that at this point it's going to be below the surface. Okay, that should be close enough that the Transx can be reasonably accurate now.
Translation.
So
Rotation.
let's rotate. Let's rotate to prograde. Why in the world? I don't know, that just looked weird to me for some reason. I'm weirded out by the HUD. Why is the velocity vector not where prograde is at? See what I mean? I'm rotating toward prograde, and I am really confused at the moment. I'm close enough. I'm within the Mars's strong SOI.
Translation.
I don't know. That is really weird. I'll figure that out some other time. Anyway, I need to bring up the minimum altitude.
Translation.
And that should be good. Let's go ahead and warp time forward. Watching the gravitational influence there to make sure that I don't warp time forward too far, crash into the planet. I cannot figure out why the HUD looks so weird.
Rotation.
That prograde is 0, 0. Why in the world does it show the velocity vector like here? I've never seen that ever, ever, ever. It's almost like it has the velocity vector from the sun's orientation or something. Let me check that. No, that's not it. Maybe from Phobos? Nope. Very weird. Okay, so anyway, let's bring up align plane MFD. Let's reference Mars. It's already referenced. Let's target Phobos. And we're only 2.44 degrees out of plane. That's pretty good. Of course, who knows what it'll be by the time we actually get down into the atmosphere. So what we're going to do here, take a sip. So we're going to go down to the atmosphere and we're going to get captured by Mars. Actually, I should say our first priority is going to be to align our plane. Once the plane's aligned, then we're going to get aero captured. Then once we're aero captured, we're going to set our apoapsis so that it's the same altitude as Phobos. So that's kind of a step 1, 2, 3 thing. We don't need transx anymore. Let's bring up aero brake. That'll come in handy shortly. And we want to change to... That's fine. Alright, and let's go ahead and warp time forward slowly. Check our altitude. Actually, I'm referencing Phobos again. And once we get down to the usual number, a couple hundred kilometers, we will retract a few things. Okay, that's good enough. So let's go to this view. Let's turn on the APU. And we've had the retro doors open all this time. Close the radiator. Turn on surface controls.
Translation. Rotation.
See, now the velocity vector looks, it's where it should be. Unless I'm just completely crazy, I can't say that I've ever seen what I just saw before. But now the velocity vector is exactly where you would expect it to be, 0 and 0. I'm probably just having a mental breakdown of some kind. I'm sure it's fine. I don't really like to steer in the atmosphere manually, or rather with the keyboard. I just don't like it. So I'm gonna bring the joystick over. And we'll leave this view up so that we can keep an eye on our temperature. But mainly we want align plane. So we're only 2.44 degrees out of plane, coming up to the descending node, which means we want to be banking the vessel in the direction that we are, which is sort of up. So that works out. We'll roll heads up first here at the beginning of this
Off.
At the beginning of this atmospheric entry, just to make sure that our vertical speed doesn't get to, you know, so far down that it just crams us into the ground. Let's check our locks real quick. 5 days, so we should have plenty of time to get over to Phobos. Although we don't have, I left a 10-day, I gave myself 10 days extra. That doesn't seem like it was any too much extra, that's for sure. I guess with the mid-course corrections and stuff, it changed the timing of the arrival by 5 days. Something else we can do to speed up our aero capture. Actually, let me align the plane first, and then I'll throw out the air brake. See, we're down to 50 kilometers. We still got a pretty high negative vertical speed, so I don't want to be like inverted or anything yet. But I can already start steering the vessel, and we determined already that we needed to be banked left for that. And actually, I need to do that aggressively because I'm past the node. So I need to bank aggressively to the left. And even put in some up elevator to speed that up. You can see we'll be aligned in no time. Got a tricky balance here between watching the... Okay, that's pretty good there. Let's not go too nuts with it. Tricky balance here between watching the aligned plane and watching my vertical speed and altitude. Okay, now let's roll over so we don't climb back out. And now I can throw out the air brake. What the heck is that black spot? I've never seen that before. That's weird. Okay, so now our plane is pretty well aligned. It's not perfect. The timing of the arrival was a bit off, but 0.21 is certainly good enough. Now I want to get captured by Mars. So I'm going to hang out here around 32 kilometers would be a good number. Temperature's good, and we don't have a lot of ugly heat. What in the world is that? Must just be an artifact on the texture or the mesh. Okay, now I want to watch my apoapsis here, which I don't have a number yet because I'm not captured. So let me bring up Orbit MFD, and I actually need to target Phobos. Don't need to, but it helps. And I want to have an apoapsis of greater than 5,800, less than 6,165. So somewhere between PEA and APA. And take out some of that elevator trim. And our eccentricity is 1.4, so we've still got a little bit of time until we get captured. I'm also going to bring up an external MFD just so I can watch the aligned plane. I don't want it to get out, so it'll help if I keep that open and so I can see. Let me shut this off.
Mach 26.
And I think kind of what I want to do is hang out, above 30 kilometers or so. That way, when it comes time to exit the atmosphere, I can do so in fairly short order. When the way we know the time to exit the atmosphere is, Dimitri told me this. If you watch Aerobrake MFD, it'll tell you what your apoapsis altitude is, and it's really accurate. But first of all, we have to get captured. And if this happens to take long enough, I can get over to the ascending node and then do some more plane alignment, but it probably won't take that long to get captured because we're already down to 1.2. But anyway, my point is I don't want to be too low in the atmosphere, because then when I start to climb back out, it might take longer than I want, and that will devolve my apoapsis farther than I want. So take out a little bit more of that elevator trim. And you can see we're still not captured. We're down to 1.1 on the eccentricity. Take out a little more elevator trim because I don't want to dive into the atmosphere really any more than I am. I feel like around 30 kilometers is a good altitude to you get the atmospheric braking that you need, but you're still high enough that you can exit fairly quickly without having big changes to your plane change and big changes to your altitudes. Okay, we're almost captured, 1.01. And voila, we are captured. Now we really want to start paying attention to the apoapsis altitude given to us by Aerobrake. And I guess what I really want to do at this point is actually roll over. Actually, let me check here. Try to think the best way to roll over without having too much impact on my relative inclination, but it doesn't really matter. I'll correct it on the other side, so I'm just going to roll to the right because I'm right-handed.
Mach 23.
Watch my vertical speed. You can see my apoapsis altitude is saying 17 m at the moment. Actually, let me roll back over. I still have too much velocity to be heads up at this point. So let me pull down into the atmosphere. And I've kind of messed up my line plane there a bit, so I'll try to correct that.
Mach 22.
I guess you don't have to be heads up for this apoapsis altitude to still be correct, so I'm just going to fly inverted. And then I want it to be 6, let me think. I would think I would want it to be up to the apoapsis, basically 6.16, or maybe the altitude of Phobos at the moment, 5.8, but it's somewhere in that range. And we're still at 10, so we're not where we need to be. So we pitch down a little bit, make sure I don't climb out. And if you accidentally did climb out at this point, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Straighten out. What you can do is just go around and then use the atmosphere a second time, but it would be more accurate and it would be better piloting if we got it right on our first dip down into the atmosphere. Put a bit of up elevator trim. Take it back out now. But you can see kind of the tricky part here to some extent is to work out this timing. Okay, I can see that we're getting pretty close according to aerobrake. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to continue to fly this particular flight path, and I'll just adjust elevator trim to just gradually climb out of the atmosphere. Because it says now 6.4. I got to kind of wait for the vessel to stop oscillating. So it says 6.8, 6.7. So you can see we kind of need to start climbing out. Now this does take into account your, the amount of atmosphere that you still have left to go through, I believe. But it's time to climb out. Okay, it says we're going to be at 6.6, and again we want 6.1, so just a little bit of down elevator, or rather up elevator, to kind of pull into the atmosphere a little bit more. Now it's saying 6.2. That's closer, much closer to what we actually want. .1. Let me put in a little bit of, change the elevator trim just a little bit. Take a sip here. Okay, now it's down to 6.0, so let's put in some more up elevator, or I guess it'd be down elevator. And some more. Okay, I think at this point I need to roll over.
Rotation.
Messing up my line plane again. But I'll try to fix it on the way out this way. I don't think I quite got the maneuver right. Here's my apoapsis altitude's now showing 5.7. So it's a little on the low side. But that's the idea. Okay, now I can turn off the APU.
Offline.
Actually, I know what I can do to maybe fix that is put the air brake back in.
APU offline.
That should raise the apoapsis altitude. Didn't help much.
Mach 20.
Okay, turn the APU back off. Let me slide the joystick out of the way. Now we just need to get out of the atmosphere and we'll work out our rendezvous with Phobos. So let me warp time forward here a little bit and then we'll reopen the radiator as well. Okay, so we got our plane alignment pretty well. 0.1 is fine. Okay, close out that MFD. Let's go to the larger view, and now we will bring up Transx here. And what we want to say is without doing anything other than orbiting Mars, how long would it take us to intercept Phobos? That's what we want to know at this point. So let's go to orbits to intercept here, and let's just put in, because currently the timing isn't even close. We're going to be way off. So in 5.5, 6, so in 7 orbits, we're going to be quite close to Phobos. But we can't just orbit Mars on our current trajectory because our PEA is down into the atmosphere. So we need to go to apoapsis and just do a very small maneuver to raise the other side of our orbit. So that's the next order of business. We're not going to catch Phobos for a while, so there's no point in even worrying about it. This also means we're going to cross the line of nodes a few times, so if we want, we can do a little bit of correction on the alignment. It's not really necessarily even worth messing with, but since we're going to cross the line of nodes so many times anyway, why not? Okay, we are basically there. Let's just use the autopilot to go prograde. And with just up-down translation.
Translation.
That brings the relative inclination the rest of the way down, and off the top of my head, I don't know how much of a burn that was, but that was just using translation, no main engine at all. So now we're in perfect plane with Phobos. And that's kind of a good stopping point, I suppose. Let's wrap up the video here since we're at 30 minutes. And when we come back, we will complete the number of orbits around Mars that's necessary. We'll also raise our altitude a little bit so that we don't come back down into the atmosphere of Mars. And then we'll rendezvous with Phobos and land at Hal Base. If you liked the video, like the video. If you didn't like the video, don't like the video. And leave a comment down below, please. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you in the next part.